Have you ever met someone who seemed incredibly intelligent, but didn't act the way you expected? They weren't always the loudest person in the room. They didn't constantly show off their knowledge, and sometimes they even doubted themselves. It's strange, right? When most people imagine someone with a high IQ, they picture a genius who always has the answers, someone confident, fast-talking, and intellectually intimidating. But real intelligence often looks very different. In fact, many people with high IQs share a few subtle traits that most people completely overlook. One of the most surprising traits is curiosity. Highly intelligent people tend to ask a lot of questions, not because they don't know things, but because they genuinely want to understand how things work. They're fascinated by ideas. They enjoy exploring different perspectives, and they rarely settle for simple explanations. For them, learning isn't a task, it's a natural instinct. Another common trait is overthinking. While many people see overthinking as a weakness, it can actually be a sign of a very active mind. People with higher intelligence often analyze situations from multiple angles. They imagine different outcomes, they question assumptions, and mentally simulate possibilities. Their brains are constantly running small experiments in the background. Of course, this also means their minds can be a little noisy, but that mental complexity is often what allows them to solve difficult problems. Another interesting pattern is that highly intelligent people are often comfortable with uncertainty. Most people want quick answers. They want clear conclusions, but intelligent minds are more willing to sit with questions that don't have easy solutions. They understand that the world is complicated and that real understanding takes time. In fact, the more someone learns, the more they realize how much they don't know. And that brings us to another surprising trait: self-doubt. You might expect highly intelligent people to be extremely confident, but many of them actually question themselves more than others do, because they see more possibilities, more variables, more ways things could go wrong. This awareness can sometimes make them appear quieter, more thoughtful, or even hesitant. But it's not a lack of intelligence. It's the opposite. Their minds are simply processing more information. You might also notice that people with high IQs often enjoy solitude, not because they dislike others, but because quiet environments give their minds space to think. When there's less noise around them, their thoughts become clearer. Ideas connect. Patterns appear. Solitude becomes a kind of mental laboratory. And finally, one of the most overlooked traits of intelligent people is adaptability. They're willing to change their minds. If new evidence appears, they reconsider their beliefs. If they learn something better, they adjust. For them, being right is less important than understanding the truth. And that flexibility is one of the strongest signs of real intelligence. So the next time you think about someone with a high IQ, don't just imagine the stereotypical genius. Sometimes the most intelligent person in the room is the quiet one observing everything, the one asking thoughtful questions, the one thinking deeply before speaking. Because intelligence doesn't always try to stand out. Sometimes it simply understands more than it says.